Hi guys! We're trying this again here. I've got it all set up now. It looks a little funky and there may or may not be some unicorn tape across my face, but it's on there and that's what counts, right? Go ahead and say hello once you hop on. Got my laptop over here. I'm just gonna share, make sure everything's working okay. So I'm really excited to make this one with you guys. I have, where do I have my example? I took my one that I already had put together. I took it apart because I started to try and work with the design that I've got in my head for next month. I guess really this month because this one was supposed to be February's craft crate. But I've got this really cool idea in my head and I was trying to go ahead and test it out. So I took the insert out and now I'm not 100% sure where I stuck it. But hello. Hey, Michelle. We're going to get started here in just a second. Trying to make sure everything is working. This is my second take on this because Drew has hidden the part of the tripod that the phone goes into, and I didn't realize that until I went to go try and stick the phone on there and noticed that there was no place to stick my phone. So I'm going to have to take a picture of the way that I have this set up here because it's pretty comical. It is taped with unicorn washi tape to the tripod on like the pole part. So it's in a little bit of a strange angle right now, and I can't see my face, but I can see where I'm going to be working, which is important because that's what you guys need to see. So I am very excited. Do I have anybody that's hopped on yet that has their crate? I know a lot of people had to catch the replay for this. Hey, Brandy. A lot of people were going to have to catch the replay, which is no big deal. So, dun, dun, dun. I am just sharing this video real quick and then we will go ahead and get started so there's not too much of a delay when you guys are watching the replay of this. If you don't already, go ahead and get your glue guns plugged in. For anyone that is not quite sure what we're doing tonight, so I had craft crates that you could order, and the ladies that ordered them have received them, and we are going to be logging on here and putting them together as a group. So it'll be really fun, and I really want to see when you guys are all done. I would love for you to post a picture so that I can see what it looked like. All right, so I guess to get started, in your kit, let's just go over everything that you have, should have, all of that good stuff. This is my frame that I'm going to be working on. It's the one that I had set up for the display, so it's a little bit disassembled right now. But in your guys' crates, you would have gotten your frame, and then you also, all of your flowers and your stems were located right inside of there. So you're going to want to go ahead and get those pulled out. You also will have your background paper on there. Say hi as you guys are jumping on so I know who's with me. Let me know if you've got a crate or if you're just checking this thing out. If you decide that you want a crate and you don't currently have one, no problem. We can get you one. Go ahead and get your glue guns plugged in, ladies. Get that glue melting up for you. As far as the flowers, so everybody's going to have something a little bit different. Everybody's got 2 stems and flowers. So I'm thinking that probably the easiest way to kind of sort out how we're going to lay them out, we're going to lay them out in front of us first before we attach them and make them any kind of permanent. But everybody should have gotten, I'm going to call it the extra large flower. So pick out the biggest flower that is in your frame. Hey, Brandy, nope, that's fine. But it's either going to be one like this that's white, or there's also one that is pink. It's this color, but it looks more like a mum. It's not this exact style. But they're both about the same size, so those are our extra large ones. So set that aside. And then you should have a couple more medium-sized ones. Everybody's got one that looks like this. The shades might be a little bit different. And then the medium one. I tried to make sure, as I was packing your guys' crates, that you got the same number of like size flowers, and then also that the colors, you still got all the colors that were represented in the example picture. And then you should have a couple of more that are kind of the medium flowers. So you've got extra large, large, some mediums, and then some small and extra small. So about 3 smalls, 2 extra smalls. These ones all kind of were, it kind of varied. So you might have the extra small and the small. They were kind of almost the same sizes, so they all can kind of be interchangeable for each other. So go ahead and pull those guys out, and as our glue guns are heating up, we can go ahead and arrange the flowers how we're going to want them. So I would say you're going to want the extra large flower in the center. That's going to be your base, your starting point. This is just for the flowers, because the first thing we're going to end up gluing is going to be the stems, because you're covering a good portion of them and you want to get them laid out properly. So when we start gluing, these are going to be our first step, but right now we're just kind of arranging. And then I would take your 2, so you've got your extra large down, take your 2 large flowers, and that's going to go on either side. It doesn't matter which color goes where, you just want, here, let me move this and see if you guys can see where my flowers are. But once you get your 2 mediums, then you're going to go get, or your 2 larges, you're going to get your 2 mediums. So you're basically just kind of making a U shape with the extra large, the large, and the medium flowers. And then at that point, it's kind of just filling in where you want your smaller flowers. But there's not really a super big rhyme or reason for where those ones go. But just kind of filling in, seeing how you guys want yours to look. So be playing with that a little bit. I'm going to scoot mine to the side. They're all still where I want them to be. But I'm going to test out my glue and see if it's hot enough. So go ahead and if you're at this stage too, go ahead and grab your back of your frame. And for this, I'm just going to use a couple of small dots, because the goal for me is I want to be able to take my shadow box apart if I want to make it interchangeable. So for a lot of the craft crates, I'm going to say a majority of them, I'm going to try and base them around this shadow box. And just kind of change things up a little bit with the design, so that then it gives you guys more ideas for what you can do with yours too. So my goal is to be able to kind of have them be interchangeable. So I'm going to want to be able to take this background off again. You can kind of see, because I used this one already, I pulled a little bit off of the back. I just had painter's tape on there when I did it, but I'm just going to use a couple of the drops of the glue. I thought that I had this plugged in and I did not. So we're going to wait just another minute. But also, in your guys' crate, you should have your squeegee, your small squeegee. And this is something that I am going to recommend that you guys do. Not a necessity, but I have found that I like, my phone just tilted. For those of you guys hopping on, my son has absconded with the holder part for my phone. So we are, taped to the pole is how we are set up in here. So we might just be a little bit crooked. But hey, look, you can see more of the desk. You can see more of the working space. As you guys are working too, it might be easier for you guys if you scoot the comments to the side, which if you've never done that before, if you just take your finger and you slide it to the right, then you can see everything in front of me without the words. I'm going to scoot mine back so I can see what you guys are saying or if you have any questions. But the small squeegee, hold on, let me show you my other squeegee. This is the medium squeegee. This is the one that when I first started, I always just used this. Because I liked the point part of it. I liked being able to get into the jar with that. I felt like this one was a little bit harder to use when it came to scooping the product out, because see how it's kind of like a diamond or a gem shape. I'd always use that point to kind of scoop in there. However, saw a tip where somebody cut their squeegee in half. This is like all I've been using now. I haven't used this one in a little while. I've been using my small squeegee cut in half. So I would highly recommend doing that. Not a necessity, but it is a little bit easier to work with. This is the one that I'm going to be working with tonight. And you just cut it down the center. Super easy. I'm pretty sure I used my kitchen shears when I cut one of mine. Hey, Tara. So let's check our glue again. See? Yep. Okay. It's liquefied now, guys. So I'm just putting 2 dots on either side. Like I said, I want to be able to get this off again later, so I'm not super worried about this part being permanent. Because what I am going to do is, when I make another one, I'm going to still save this one, so then I can swap it back in there, because all of you guys in your crate, you got a transfer, and these bad boys are reusable. So if you want to do something else in a couple months, and then you decided that you want this one again, no big deal. Your background will already be set, and putting these on is so quick and easy. You guys are going to see. So I have my background on here. I just put a dot of glue here and a dot of glue here on the background and just pressed this on there. You will notice that the backs of these frames, see that little bit of paper that's sticking out? I'm just going to end up folding those over. So all of your pieces should be cut to the right size, but you are going to have that little bit of corner overhang. If you just fold it over, it's not enough of a thickness to mess with it. So just fold those over and you will be good to go. And then just look at where your wood grain is. Decide which one you want to be. Oh no, don't do that. Look on the back. Look where your hangers are. Make sure that the one we're going to be doing, like, our design's going to be going like this. So make sure that this is on the top when you lay it down. You don't want to do all this work and then it end up being backwards. So we're going to go ahead and start grabbing our stems. So you guys all have some of these little, I'm not even sure if they're, I would call them maybe kind of like eucalyptus leaves. I'm not really sure, but super pretty. They are wire inside, so go ahead and kind of bend it a little bit. It doesn't have to be super, super extreme, but it does help with making it so that it's, it does that curve a little bit more naturally. So do one like that, and then do the other one bending the opposite way. Got a little bit of weird glue on mine. But just go ahead and bend, and then you can just kind of lay them out on your board, kind of like this. Just sort of place them so that it makes sort of that little bit of like that flower crown look. And So most of these, there are a few where you guys may have lucked out and had ones where the leaves are just flat, but a majority of us are going to have the ones where the leaves are on the little rings and they are on the stem. So it's not quite as much of just like a lay flat sort of deal. So we're going to have to manipulate them a little bit once we get them in place. So what I would recommend doing is in the middle, go ahead and put a little blob of glue on the stem. Just a little teeny bit. And go ahead and glue that down. Might have to hold it for a second. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and get the other spots in place. Maybe be a little bit more generous with the glue because that one didn't keep mine down. So if it's a bigger glob, hopefully this is going to keep it down, but don't worry about it being seen because between the way that we can spread the leaves around and then also when the flowers get attached, you're not going to be able to see it. So I've got that one. Ooh. Using my high temp gun tonight, and that one, I pressed my finger on it just a little bit too long. So once I've got that one in there, then I'm also going to go ahead and do the bottom. Just so everything is down. And just kind of hold that for a second, let it start to kind of dry so that it's not moving too much on you. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the main glue on my other parts too before I start playing with the leaves. So I'm going to do my great big glob in the middle. And then a little bit, well, nah, it's still pretty big. My other glob down at the bottom. Go ahead and press those down and just hold them in place. Oops, I moved my hand too quick. It started to try and move around on me. Dun, dun, dun. All right. Looking good, looking good. So the main spot where you're really going to want to focus on making sure that the leaves are looking good is up at the top, because that's the part that's going to be peeking out from the flowers. The other parts of the leaves, if you want to take the time to go ahead and spread them out, you certainly can, but I wouldn't say that it's really necessary just because the flowers are going to pretty much cover them up, so you're not going to have, they're just going to be like another layer, like another additional layer for your pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this first leaf down. Just a little dab will do you on this part. So I'm going to show you how my leaves are laid out right here, because so these two that I just glued down, they're like right side already facing up. This one is backwards. You can leave it like that because it's still going to be like a natural, more of a natural look to it. I'm going to turn mine around though. So you just twist it before you put the glue down so that it's all the same color. So that's totally personal preference. I think both ways are going to look fine, but I just prefer for mine to be like that, where they're all facing the same way. So I got that one glued down. Now I'm going to go through and fix some of my other ones on this side. I'm just going to do the top two little groups of leaves on mine. I'm not going to do all of them. So on this one, I actually only ended up having to glue 2 spots. I glued this one right here. This one that's behind the stem, it was already facing up and it looks good, so I'm leaving that. And then I just did one more dollop of glue and then these two stuck together on there. So now I'm going to go ahead and grab the other side. Have any of my crate ladies hopped on yet? Go ahead and say hey when you're here. I know a lot of these crates went pretty far out. I think the furthest went to Utah. There were a few in the Midwest. I wanted to see where everybody was checking in from. All right, so I've got another leaf over here. I think I'm going to leave this guy out, honestly. I was about ready to glue that one, but it's kind of facing the right way, and I like how it's sticking up a little bit more. I like that it's a little bit more 3D. So that's going to be it that I'm going to do for my stems. I'm going to go ahead and start working on the flowers. You know the string that glue guns leave behind? I got it all over my hands. So I'm going to start with my extra large flower. Remember, we've got everything kind of laid out over to the side so that we know what we're working with here. So for this, I am going to just put it on the paper. I find that it works a little bit better when I put it on the paper versus trying it on the flower and then placing it. I'm just going to do my best to center this. Now, one thing you may want to think about before you start gluing, like I know on mine, my stems weren't, like the bottom parts didn't create an exact center. So I'm going to try and focus more on this, like what I see as the center of the thing. So it's going to be a little like right around here. So you can see, like, if I put the center of my flower there, it is closer to the stem than it is this one. So not a big deal, just something to kind of think about for how you want to orient your flowers. If you want them to be centered, don't necessarily focus on where the stems are, focus on the actual center of the board, because all of this stuff's going to get covered up anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and get a big old glob on there, put my extra large flower on it. Already looking beautiful. Already looking good. All right. And then you're going to take your large flowers. So in my case, mine too look like this. And I'm going to have them, they're basically covering up on my stems. Everybody's stems might have a little bit, depending on where you place them, where you move them around to. But in my case, this is going to be covering up the last couple spots of my stems. So, we're going to go ahead and get a couple of dollops on there, press it down, and press it down. All right. And then I am going to, now that I've got these on here, I'm just going to double check myself and see if I like the placement, because I think I'm going to, yeah, I think I'm going to play around a little bit with this. I think I'm going to move my medium ones. Before I had the way I had it laid out on the desk, I had it where like my medium flower would end up being more on the outside, but I think I want it to be on the inside. So it's kind of like, how many of you are sewers? You know the expression like measure twice, cut once. Arrange twice, glue once is going to be our expression tonight. And feel free to kind of manipulate your flowers if you want to a little bit. Some of them, like especially more of like the little rosette kinds, you can kind of play around with how big they are if you just spread the papers out a little bit. So, or if you want them to be a little bit smaller, kind of pinching them up, like maybe putting a little bit of glue in there to kind of keep them where you want them. So now, for these ones, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I cover up my glue spots with this. So in that case, I have a glue spot here and I have a glue spot right here. So I'm just going to want to make sure that I put my flower on top of it, just to make sure that it's nice and good and covered. You're not going to be able to see it. As you're arranging your flowers, guys, I don't know if you've noticed or not, like if you paid attention to the colors when you were laying them out. But one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to my greens and my blues, I'm going to try and separate them a little bit more. So I've got my green flower on this side. Ah! I need to re-glue. I thought that it felt like a second ago, like that side moved, but then when I looked at it, it was still there. So I was like, oh no, I'm just imagining things. I was not imagining things. So, like I was saying, I'm going to put the blue one on this side just so that it's not on the same side as the green. They're kind of the same tone, and I want to, right now I've got my yellow and my pink, so some warmer tones over here. So I'm going to make sure that I add a little bit of cool ones over here. So, just however you guys want to do them, whatever looks best to you. There's not really like a right or a wrong way to do it, but as I'm doing mine, I'm just explaining my thought processes, if you will. And with this, you can kind of like spread the leaves around. Put them in here. Oops. I just thought one thing. I want to make sure, because I just haven't seen any of my crate ladies hop on here yet. So I'm just going to post in the event real quick, make sure everybody's good. I know there were several ladies that said that they were going to have to catch me later, which is totally cool. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody that was planning on being here. So again, on this side, my glue keeps falling out. Does that ever happen to you guys? It's like that awkward stage between glue sticks. So like this one right now is down here, so it can't push because this part's not grabbing anything. But then every time that I like set this down, the glue stick part keeps coming out. Problems. So I don't know if any of you guys saw or not. I posted earlier today and I still just crack myself up when I see it. So yesterday I was in Easton, which those of you that aren't local to me, I live in a really small town where I've got to basically drive like 20-30 minutes to get to pretty much anything. And so Easton is like the closest quote unquote bigger town that's got some more options of stuff. So I was there visiting a friend yesterday and I had to go to Target afterwards, and I was driving there, and so in the Target shopping center, there's a bunch of stuff. Like there's some different restaurants, Chick-fil-A being one of them, which is my fave, especially when I've got Drew. And then there's also Target, like a shoe store, like a bunch of different like kind of random stuff. But Target and Chick-fil-A are my two main things. And there's been this mystery building. Like before there used to be kind of just this really large parking lot in front of Chick-fil-A in between like the smaller shopping centers that had like the mattress store and like other stuff. It was just basically a big open lot. Well, they've been building something, and every time we're in town, Steve and I are like, what is this going to end up being? But I can't think, type, and talk all at the same time. Bear with me for 1 second. But we've been wondering what in the world this building is going to be. And they haven't had like any signs yet saying, at least none that we've seen when we've been in town, saying what it's going to be. Well, yesterday I was driving up, and it was kind of comical. Like if you were a fly inside of my car and could see the reaction. I'm driving by and I'm coming up to the light to turn, and I see this sign, this banner that says coming soon, Michaels. Guys, I got so excited. And then that is also when I realized that I left my phone at my friend's house, because I went to try and call her, and which is a big deal. I don't make phone calls, guys. I'm a text only kind of gal. But I was driving and I was that excited. I was trying to call her, and my Bluetooth in my car wouldn't work because my phone was not in my car and it could not connect. So here's another thing for another thought too, guys. Some of your flowers, they're gonna have like, I just dropped my flower. Some of them have writing. Let me show you the one that I've already got glued. So my green flower, did I just drop one of them? No, I didn't. No, I'm losing my mind. I'm seeing things. So some of your flowers might have writing on them. So that's another thing I'm going to work on as far as like balancing them out. One when I go pick up my flower. I did drop something. I dropped one of my... Oh, because I didn't have it glued on yet. Guys, look, I'm talking about Michaels and I'm getting so excited. I'm getting so frazzled. But anyway, I realized that I didn't have my phone and I didn't have anybody that I could share my excitement with. I was so pumped. Well, Steve was on night work this week, so he wasn't home. And I was texting him later that night and I was like, oh, by the way, I found out what that building is going to be. And first of all, he didn't respond right away. Which, I mean, he was working, whatever. But I was, like, so pumped because I was so excited. I could not wait because I knew he wasn't going to be very excited. But I just was so pumped. So I texted him, you know, it's gonna be a Michaels. And then, like, the next probably, like, 20 minutes was just me sending him Bitmojis. There were no words sent. And I'm quite certain he probably put his phone down at one point and was just like, I'm not watching this anymore. But all those I posted all of the ones. I think I was able to make like 2 9-square things. So it was like almost 20 Bitmojis of just pure excitement about this Michaels store that's coming into town. So I'm really happy. I mean, we've got a Michaels that's in one of the other bigger towns, but it's further away. So I'm excited to have one that is more in my backyard, if you want to say that. Especially since it's right where all of my other favorite stores are. Because there's also a Starbucks inside the Target. So it's like, it was already a trifecta, and now it's just like 4 perfect things once Michaels arrives. And then that night, it was almost like they knew that I was super excited about it because I had a Michaels flyer coupon in my mailbox. It wasn't for the new one, obviously, but I mean, they know. They're getting me excited here. So, moving off of that segue, guys, if you have all of your flowers arranged, I have all of mine except for the one little one that I just dropped off my desk, but I am going to work with these. I feel like the layout still looks pretty good with them. So go ahead and get all of them glued and arranged where you would like them. And then the shadow box. Let me go over the layers of this because I've taken it apart a few times now. Between this one and the one that I made with in January with the candy hearts. I've had to take it apart a few times, and it's a little bit interesting the way that it's set up. It's a little strange. So you've got your plastic piece with no glass in it. You're going to want to go ahead and put your glass in there. Ooh, look, can you see how mine is dirty? It is dirty. Not really dirty, but it's streaky. I clearly did not use the newspaper trick. Once you get your glass in there, go ahead and you're going to take the white plastic thing. And so earlier I accidentally put it in like this with these little sticky parts up. And I felt like it held it in there a little bit better. But then I couldn't get so I was like, ooh, I was putting it in wrong the last time. But I don't think I was, because then I couldn't really get the backing on there correctly. So you're going to want the, like, wide part, you want to face up. You're going to want the little, like, peggy things to be at the bottom. But be advised, it kind of, like, if you flip it upside down, if my thumbs weren't here, like, it would shift. So just be advised. So then you're going to want to go ahead and take your background. Go ahead and get it placed in there. If you have, like, some of my leaves are a little bit closer to the edge. So I'm going to kind of pay attention to that when I'm putting it in here. I'm going to, before I turn my little knob things at the top, I'm just going to pick it up and kind of check it out. Make sure that the leaves are where I want them to be. And, like, on my right side, I can see that they are a little bit... Oh, here's something, guys, for those of you catching on the replay. Thank you, Ashley. After many, many times of trying to pull this out with my fingernails and it, like, not always working the greatest, I had the genius thought to use the little pulley things. So some of you may have done that on the first try. If you're like me and you hadn't figured that out, try doing it with that. There we go. So I got my little leaf tucked in now. Yeah, I kind of had to stop figure out a different way out of necessity because, we went on a cruise in January, and I got my nails done before we went. And honestly, I really think that the last time that I had my actual, like, fingernails done, and not just, like, getting a pedicure, was the last time we went on a cruise, like, several years ago. So, this time, I decided to get a gel manicure, which I loved that it didn't chip, but holy cow, I didn't really realize all that it took. Yes, ma'am, Paige. Are the girls coming with you too? I just kind of want to know how many canvases I need to have for you guys. But I scratched my frame a little bit on my little frame part. But I didn't realize, like, you couldn't really use normal nail polish to take it off. I thought that you just had to, like, let it sit there for a minute and then it would come off. So I ended up, like, peeling them all off, which I know is not good for my nails, because it weakened them. So it made it harder to pull the back off when I was doing this the other day. So, now, we've got our whole box put together. So, on the page that on the event page, I posted that a towel and your glue gun is the things that you're going to want tonight. So the reason for the towel, all of our transfers, we have silkscreen reusable transfers. This is backwards, but it says So Blessed on there. I like to describe them as sort of a mix between a window cling and a, like a vinyl. 3 will be good. Okay, Paige. Sounds good. So these are ideally made for chalkboards, but basically any kind of non-porous surface. So if you've seen any of the stuff in my shop where I've used these, I use it on wood, I've used it on metal before, on glass. I just did some really cool windows with them. But the smoother that the surface is, the vinyls, the window, look, I'm saying both of the things that they aren't. The transfers, especially if they're really, really sticky, you want to kind of just fuzz them up so that they aren't quite as sticky, because when you go to pull the transfer off, it could stretch it if it's too stuck to your surface. So, typically on like a chalkboard or on wood or anything like that, you would use some, not furniture wax, not like the cleaning kind, but like a finishing wax like you use on different like refurbishing projects, things like that you find in like the paint aisles at the hardware store. You would put that down. But since this is on glass, you're obviously not going to want to wax it up. So fuzzing it is the answer. So to fuzz it, I just realized I did that off camera. Just put it on your towel. If you didn't grab a towel and you don't want to go grab one, using your pant leg works. Like, just rub it on there. You're just kind of wanting to get, I don't know if it'll show it, just trying to get it a little bit fuzzy on there. So can you see the fuzzies? It's just going to make it easier when you go to pull the transfer off. So now you're just going to want to figure out where you want it to be. If you want it to be centered, if you want it to be angled. On the example I had it centered and straight. I think I'm gonna do it a little bit sideways on this one. If I don't like it, I can erase it. So that is one benefit here. So this is what it looks like once I push it on there. So you can see I've got it on an angle there. So now, one thing that I always like to do before I go and put either paste or the paint or anything on my transfers is I like to take the squeegee and just kind of go over it. Like right now I'm going up and down. I'm going to go side to side. Just kind of press it and make sure there's no air bubbles. Because the way that this is going to work is whatever medium that you put on the transfer. Tonight we're going to be using our chalk paste that you guys got in your kits. It goes through where it looks like it's clear here. There's actually a little mesh in there. So it's kind of like you're screen printing this on. So if there's like a bubble between like the blue and the clear space here, then some of the paste or the paint can like kind of seep through, and you don't want that. So I just like to kind of take the squeegee because it's flat and sort of just go over it a few times, a few different ways, and just make sure that everything is good and snug and in place. So I am going to end up using, I might not actually. So I pulled this color, and I don't think this is, which one is this? I think this one's Coastal. My little sticker isn't on there anymore. And I don't think anybody had picked that one. I'm thinking that I'm actually going to use this like really light kind of minty green. So here's a comparison. I'm going to use the bottom one. It's kind of the same color as this flower that's right here next to where it's going to be, so I'm changing things up a little bit. So inside of your kits, you guys, you should have had your squeegee, which if you guys missed earlier, this is the full-size squeegee that you would have gotten in your kit. You would have gotten that, your paste, and a little wooden stick. So I cut my squeegee in half. I just think that it's a little bit easier to work with. And what you're going to do, you're going to take your lid off, and there's a little plastic lid on there. You're going to go ahead and pop it off. And then the consistency, let me see if you guys can see this well. It's kind of like a jello, not jello, like a pudding kind of mixture. But you're just going to take your stick, and you're just going to use that to kind of swirl it around. Get it all nice and mixed up. And then you can just take your squeegee. I think you guys can see me when I keep going over there. Just take your squeegee, and I like to kind of just scrape off the stick. Save as much of the product as I can. There's no use in rinsing it down the drain if I don't want it to be there, right? Rather have it in my jar. Let's just kind of scrape the extras off. Set that aside, and then I'm going to just get a little bit on your squeegee. You can see that's not a whole lot on there. You don't need a ton. And I might dip back in once, but I'm definitely going to be scraping some stuff back. So let me show you guys. So here's your transfer. And you're just going to slide the squeegee with your paste right across. I know that this transfer kind of goes to the edge a lot. Like really, not a lot, but like really close to the edge. I'm going to dip. So you can see I've still got product on there because it's not right at the tip. I'm just going to dip a little bit more. But you're just going to slide it across, make sure that you get it into all the little nooks and crannies. If you go off of the transfer and you touch your glass, don't freak out about it. This paste is super, super easy to clean up. It is water soluble. If you get any on your clothes, on your hands, again, no worries. So I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about here. So you want to, my paste is kind of the same color as my transfer. But do you see right here, there's a little tiny spot where I missed it. And at first it looked like I had everything, but I'm just going to go back in and grab that again. So just kind of do that as you're looking at it. You want to make sure that your paste doesn't dry as you're working. This is a pretty small transfer, so you should be good. But don't overthink it and kind of keep going over because you don't want it to dry on you. It'll get stuck in the mesh then and won't come off as clean. So then you're going to want to just peel your transfer back. If it's mine's coming off pretty easily. If it's fighting you at all, go slow. That's going to be the biggest thing, is just work slow. Pulling it off. All right. So now for this, I'm just going to stick it to the side of my desk, but I'll go over how to clean this in just a second. We're using the Chalk Couture paste, so it's not quite as much of a rush with cleaning it as it would be if we used acrylic paints. Acrylic paints you want to wash immediately so that you can make sure that your screen and everything is good. I will, Paige. I will start talking about them momentarily. I actually have my example that I did today behind me. I thought that I had some wipes or something behind me. So let me show you real quick here. I'm really glad I ended up going with that green. I think that looks good. It's pretty daggone close to that flower color, isn't it? So I'm like trying to get it up into like the very top of the part where I can see, but I forgot. You guys can really see a majority of this. So get it so that the light's not glaring on it quite as much. But that's all there is to it. Super, super easy. So as far as taking care of all of this stuff, you guys, you're going to want to make sure when you close up your paste that you get the little clear plastic lid. Just make sure that's on there again. You want to hang on to that. Don't throw it away. It just helps keep the air, helps keep it a little bit more airtight than just screwing on the lid. But just want to screw it nice and tight so that it stays where you can use it. Those of you ladies that got the gray, all of our paste previously have been these 2-ounce jars, which is, there's a ton. Like, really, you don't need a whole lot most of the times. Like, you guys just saw that. Like, you didn't have to use a whole lot of the paste. But what's really awesome is that they are upgrading the sizes. As they're, like, selling out of the inventory of these, they're upgrading them to 3-ounce jars. So that happened with the gray already. That was a pretty popular color, so all the 2-ounce containers were sold, so you ladies got an even bigger container. You're going to notice that yours looks a lot bigger than mine. So you got a whole extra ounce. I kept the price the same for you guys, but if you were to order them off of the website or anything, it's only $1 more, which I think is awesome because it's a whole nother ounce more. It's 50% more than what you were getting for $1. Your screens, what you're going to do is you're just going to take this. This one's pretty small, so you probably wouldn't have to stick it to anything. Just run it under some warm water. And it could be cold. I really just say warm more for your hands' comfort than anything else. But you're just going to kind of like wash through it. Audra, I believe you're the one that got the black color. A magic eraser, some of the darker colors might stain the transfers a little bit, but as long as your mesh is clear, then you're good. A few of mine that have used like the black and even some of the reds on, you can see a little bit of staining on the transfers, but someone told me a trick of using a magic eraser and just kind of like wiping real gentle with it. You can't even see the stains anymore. So, but yeah, with the black, I would, if you want to reduce some of the staining, just rinse it a little bit faster. And then you're just going to take a Clorox wipe, a disinfecting wipe, and you're just going to wipe the front and wipe the back. If this was a bigger transfer, I have an old cookie sheet that I don't use for cookies anymore, and I actually just keep it stored underneath in my kitchen sink where I normally wash my transfers. And what I'll do is I just stick it with the sticky side down to the cookie sheet and kind of use that to rinse it, to have something to hold on to so it doesn't like get stuck on itself, because the bigger transfers sometimes have a tendency to do that. And I'll use it to wipe down the front, and then I'll peel it off and flip it and wipe the back, and then lay it sticky side up on, I normally put it on a paper towel just because it helps, or a dish towel or something to help it absorb the moisture a little bit quicker, to help it dry a little bit faster, rather than it like sitting in its puddle of water. And then once it's all dry, you just stick your white thing back on it. With these, you guys, there's like a shiny, smooth side, and then there's like a normal paper side on the back. Make sure that you put it on the sticky side. So just like, like on a sticker book, how you've got the stickier side and it's easier for the adhesives to stick to it, you're going to want to make sure that it stays on that. So you just put it back in there. You can put it back inside of the little sleeve that it comes with. I don't have one on mine, but your guys' all have like the little hang tag sleeve. Stick it back in there, and that'll keep it, like, the edges from peeling up and stuff, and you will be good to go. As far as your frame, you're going to want to make sure that you don't wipe this with anything wet unless you want the design to come off. Glass is a little bit trickier to seal. If you're doing something and you want it to be permanent on any other surface, you can just do like a spray clear acrylic on it. but glass, it gets a little bit cloudy. So you can like dry dust it, that's fine. But if you take some water to it, it's water soluble, so it's going to wipe off. But that being said, that means that you can clear it off and then you're good to go if you want to do the next craft crate, or if you make a mistake when you're doing it, you can just wipe it clean, start over again, and you're good to go. So that is it for this little beauty. For my replay watchers, my craft crate ladies, if you have any questions, please just leave them in the comments of this video as you're watching it, and then I will do my best to respond to you pretty quickly. Just depending on when you're watching, when you're crafting. If you're doing a late night craft at like 2 or 3 in the morning, I may or I may not respond to you right as you're doing it, but I'll try and be pretty quick on it if you guys have any questions so that you can go through it pretty well. But I am hoping to have the next craft crate put together pretty soon. I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's going to be a really cute little spring idea. And then Paige, you were asking about the one for tomorrow. So let me find a before and an after here. So on Saturday, we are going to be having a class at my house, and we are going to be taking some frames. This one's still actually in its plastic. We are going to be taking some canvases, some stretched canvases, and we are going to turn them into framed works of art. So just your normal canvas here. I'm going to show you how to take this and change it to make it look like this. Dun, 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 dun. My screen's still backwards, but I'm going to show you a really easy way to stain your frame, to get your frame out, to make it all work. So this is the sample that I did for a class on Saturday. So this is just one of the print options. There's another one that's available too with one of the new transfers that I got. So you can pick whichever one that you want. It's only $15, so if you want to do both, you can do that too. Hey Amanda, Paige, there's nothing that you need to bring. If you guys want anything to eat or drink, like maybe just bring that along with you. I didn't have anything planned with it. But other than that, it should be good. I'll have all your supplies for this for you. But I think I'm going to end up hanging this guy in the coffee bar that I have in my kitchen. I've been having fun kind of like swapping stuff out and decorating different stuff for different holidays. So right now it's still in Valentine's mode, but I've got some ideas swirling in my head for what I want it to look like for March. I'm going to kind of make it like a spring / St. Patrick's Day sort of deal. I think I'm going to do my chalkboard with a little bit of St. Patrick's Day because I can, erase that pretty easily. But my other signs, I think I'm going to, like this one, I added the green to it. So it's got a little green for St. Patty's Day, but then it's also will work fine like throughout the year in different places and also just going into spring. So, but I've got some ideas floating in my head for how I'm going to set that up. So I'll keep you guys posted. I like to share that with you. But let me know if you guys have any questions. Otherwise, I do think I'm going to go ahead and hop off of here. On your squeegees, guys, these two, this should just, if you just rinse it off with water or even, I normally have baby wipes around just because they're everywhere in my house. I tuck them in every corner. So, a lot of the times I'll use that or like a Clorox wipe to kind of just wipe it clean. But that is it, you guys. So please, if you're, one of my ladies that received your crate and you're catching this on the replay, just simply leave a comment with any questions or anything. And once you guys complete your projects, I would love to see them. Please feel free to post them to the page so that we can all check out each other's works of art and how everybody's looked a little bit unique and different. So I think that's it, guys. I will talk to you later. Bye.